Obviously when I started this business, I was 100% in the home. But I went like cold turkey. I completely stopped going in home and I went 100% virtual for like the first like week or two of March.
Thank you for joining us on our Family First Life Tri-State Serve the People podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, spending your time to develop and grow with us. Follow us, please, on all our social media platforms at Family First Life Tri-State or FFL Tri-State. We love you. Keep listening, and I hope this information is serving you across the country.
All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with us for our Training Day podcast. I got my man Travis Vincent, Vice President of FFL Overcome, elite producer, certainly tracking Hall of Fame for 2022, has done some incredible things in a pretty short period of time, and I'm blessed to have him on podcast with me today. What's up, Trav?
What's going on? Wicked pumped to be on. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you. And as we were getting on, you were breaking news with me. So why don't we lead with the breaking news that you have for you and FFL Overcome?
Yeah, earlier this morning, I officially signed a lease. So FFL Overcome is going to have our very own office in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire.
That's awesome, dude.
I'm pretty excited about that. Target date is like November 3rd to have some agents coming in, and then we'll try to figure out and coordinate with after that on as far as a grand opening. So yeah, it's still a lot of work to be done, but we got the space, so that's the good news.
That's huge, man. Congratulations. Big steps, things going in the right direction. You guys are also coming off your biggest month ever, helping 197 families. So you guys are trending north in the right direction. Let's talk a little bit about your journey, Travis, over the last 3 to 6 months from elite producer to agency builder. What are some things that you've learned and picked up along the road?
So yeah, I think the main thing I've learned is, man, the building part of it takes a lot of patience, much like the selling side of it when I was new. Because I remember when I was brand new, it took me a minute to get going to figure out, how I could, present in the home, how I could help a family, place life insurance, things like that. And the building, it's no different. I mean, it definitely it takes time. It's funny because when I first decided, like, hey, I want to open an office. I want to build an agency. I want to grow that way. You always kind of think like, oh yeah, everyone's going to be, beating down the door trying to get in, and every agent that's going to come in is going to stick, and it's going to be super easy. And that's not the case. Man, oh man, does it take, I mean, I got agents that I remember when I first became a manager, I got agents that are no longer with us. I got some agents that just came out of the woodwork. I mean, I think what it is, it's always a work in progress, just like sales. I think it's important I'm always trying to look at like Matt Borsch, Mike Irvine, Joe Basso, Gabe, a lot of people in my organization that's direct to me that's been there before. And I think the more that you can look at others of where you want to be, the better. I look at Mindy Tibbs a lot because I'm trying to keep up with her, Ryan Koski. Again, there's a lot of people like right in my circle,
right,
that are ahead of where I want to be. And so it's a lot of learning from people like that.
That's fantastic. So kind of an open book, looking, willing to learn and grow inside of, the thing that you're trying to learn, and which is growth development. By the way, how much adaptation does this take, sir?
It takes a ton. So I'm a big believer in like always sharpening your mind, meaning like if you're not feeding your mind, like listening to podcasts or reaching out and getting a different angle or advice on things, then you start to slowly die. I mean, there are times where I'll go a week sometimes without listening to any FFL podcasts, and then I'm starting to go backwards, and that's always where it starts. It starts with either reaching out or listening to something. Because again, I don't know everything, nor will I ever. And this game is changing all the time.
Right.
So if you're not reaching out, if you're not listening to how other people are doing it, you're doing yourself a disservice, not only for yourself, but for your agents. So that's kind of one thing that I've been trying to stick to and keep going.
Yeah, man, it makes a lot of sense because when you think about the actual I mean, like it's school, right? Did you go to college?
Yeah, yeah. I went to college, Bible College up in Northwest Indiana. The big one that 320 lays claim to. Yeah, that was me.
Lace claim to. But I mean, you spend money to go to school, to get
Yeah,
educated, to use the education to do something in life. Here, we're making money to go to school, and we get to use the education to do something in life. Our do something here has a lot more significance because of what we're able to do financially and how we can help people in all spheres of life: staff, agents, clients. They're all getting helped. So make no mistake about it, this office represents a big step and a milestone for you and your crew. But when you think about your production, which your story is well documented about, you know, your ability to try to truly watch and learn this thing, Gabe, coming out and you watching him and seeing how many times you messed up, saying, wait a minute, this is not, I've overcomplicated this thing dramatically. But learning that, right? You made the necessary movements, adjustments to learn that, and you do it at a high level. Talk to us a little bit about what your sales process has been, so that some people can glean what elite production looks like.
yeah. So obviously, when I started in this business, I was 100% in the home. I mean, I remember, it's funny thinking back. I remember some clients, like even like last summer of 21, they'd be like, "Hey, can we just do this over the phone?" I would tell them no,
Hmm.
right? Because I was like, "Hey, there's only one way to do that, and that's in home." And then I think Family First started making a big push. I want to say it was like right after convention, where like a lot of teams started to try to figure out doing this virtually.
Right,
Because at the end of the day, I think the with virtual, there's no lead problem, right? I
right.
mean, like, it doesn't, you don't have to just sell in your backyard. You can help families anywhere. And I think, and there's a lot of agents too that are looking to join that, maybe they don't want to be running around the state or hopping on planes to go in home.
Right.
But like, you know what I mean? But if we had an option, like, hey, you can do it virtually, right? So when Family First, when we started kind of looking that way, and a lot of agents were starting to do it right after convention. I think I initially tried it, but I went like cold turkey. I completely stopped going in home, and I went 100% virtual for like the first like week or two of March, and I got smoked. I mean, it was like I'm not gonna lie, I hit the panic button because the no shows were higher. I don't know what it was. There's a learning curve with virtual, right? So I'll be full on honest. Like I did it for 2 weeks in March. I mean, I didn't make a single sale the first week. I think the second week I had a little bit of success, but I was like, man, I'm hitting the panic button. I'm like, I got to get back out in the field. So that's kind of what I did. I had a conversation with Matt Borsch, and Matt's like, well, I think it's important that you got to learn the virtual side, because there are people that you want to train that are going to be doing this virtually.
Right.
So you have to figure that side out. But he's like, at the same time, Travis, I never told you just to completely like 180. Like you want to make sure that you're kind of doing a little bit. So I'm like, okay, that's true. So then I started like, summer of 22, I was doing mostly in home, and I would mainly only do like virtual, like if it was like an early morning appointment, or if I just happen to have an appointment that's like a couple hours away, just for the logistic part of it. I figured that would make more sense. But now I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm starting to do a lot more virtual now. I'd say now, I mean, I'm probably 90 virtual, 10 in home. And I have a reason for this. Now that I have an office that we're going to be opening, my goal is I'm going to hunker down in that office, and I really want to create like a call center environment, to where I can have agents come in an actual building and start getting good at helping families over the phone. So that's a little bit of, I guess, my story. And of course, I can kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what's been working for me too, if that's going to help as well.
Yeah, that's crazy talk. That's great. Yeah, I love it. Yes, please do get into some of the nuts and
Yeah.
bolts.
Yeah. So virtually, here's kind of what I've been doing, which has been working for me. Zoom, I just haven't figured that out. So it's all over the phone. I've tried a couple Zooms, but I just couldn't figure out how to get them to show up to that appointment. So I'll book the appointments like normal, meaning like Monday, Thursdays. We're dialing to make sure that our days are full Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. But the whole idea is this: when I was going in home, I would try to space out the appointments every hour and a half. And then again, I run like 5 different counties locally. And so sometimes it wouldn't make sense to do, northern New Hampshire and then southern Mass in the same day, right? So it's like, again, those are in-home logistics that sometimes are tough to keep up with. What I like about virtually, it doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter what state, what county, doesn't matter. And as a matter of fact, I'll book them on the hour. So like literally, if you want to start your day at 8 in the morning and end at 8 o'clock at night, I mean, you do the math there. That's a lot of appointments, just kind of lining them up like one after the other. So typically what I'm going to do, because again, no shows are the biggest thing, right? Virtually. So what I do, which again, limits it, it's not going to eliminate it completely, but right before, if I get a call at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll send them a picture of my insurance license and driver's license, like right out the gate. So if I have an appointment at 8 o'clock, boom, all of a sudden 8 o'clock in the morning, and they got that text message. So they're viewing who I am. And then like almost like 30 seconds later, I'm just calling them. I'll call them once. If they don't answer, I'm going to call them a second time. If they don't answer, I'm going to call them a third time. The majority of the time, I find that if you send them a picture of the license and who you are, and then you're triple dialing them, a lot of them answer the phone right there. And then really simple, you answer the phone. I'm like, hey, Mark, this is Travis. We had a mortgage protection appointment or a life insurance appointment or a final expense appointment, whatever it is, this morning at 8 o'clock via phone call. I just sent over my credentials to you in a text message. You should have both my driver's license and my insurance license. Did you receive that? And I'll just wait right there. And I want confirmation from them. And they're like, yep, I do have that. All right, perfect. I am required by the state to send you my credentials, so I want to make sure you had it. So glad you did receive it here. And then I'm just boom, I'm right into the appointment. So I'll kind of run through if you want, like I'll run through like
absolutely.
a whole mortgage protection. Okay, because I'm doing a lot of mortgage protection right now. So once you get it, I'm like, perfect. Now, usually if you're younger, like 20s, 30s, early 40s, my opening question is, are you guys first-time home buyers? Obviously, if you're like 45 and up, that's probably not the case. So then the only thing I change there is I'll ask them, hey, are you familiar with mortgage protection? And then you always get like kind of a yes, no, maybe. So no matter what they say, I'm gonna start it the same way. Okay, perfect. So Mark, there's 3 different types of insurances you need when you own a home. You need the PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, and then I'll kind of get into explaining like what that is. And I always like to highlight that, hey, the private mortgage insurance, it has no value to you. It's more of like a fee that the lender is going to charge you if when you bought the home you were unable to put 20% down. Now, Mark, were you able to put 20% down when you bought the home here? And then they give me the answer, right? All right, perfect. So second form of insurance, pretty easy to know. It's homeowners insurance. We all know what that is. That's if like a tree fell on the roof or if a fire got started, it protects the home. And I always like to highlight an outside insurance company is going to replace the damage for you. Make sense?
Yeah.
But the third form of insurance is the reason for this phone call today. We're going to talk about mortgage protection. And what that does, Mark, is it protects you to make sure that if something were to happen to you, it could be like a death, could be a disability, or it could be like a critical illness, like heart attack, cancer, stroke. But if something like that were to happen to you, an outside insurance company is going to send your family enough money to either pay off the home, pay down the home, or in some cases, it'll just make monthly payments to help aid in transition. So my job is really simple, Mark. I'm just the medical underwriter. I'll ask you about 2 minutes of health questions. Reason why I'll ask you some health questions is because unfortunately not everyone is eligible for this program. If you're unhealthy or taking too many medications, sometimes that'll disqualify you. And then I'll also ask you 2 minutes of financial questions. And the whole goal of this, Mark, is look, this insurance is extremely important to have. However, it doesn't make any sense to be insurance rich and cash poor.
Love it.
So we need to make sure that we find something that actually fits in the budget. But if I'm able to find something that you'll qualify for, and B, actually makes financial sense and fits in the budget, I'm going to help you submit a request for coverage to see if we can get you approved. Do you have any questions or concerns so far? So that's kind of my opening there. So I'm just kind of
Very
setting the
thorough.
table to let them know. I mean, there's a couple of things in there I'll try to unpack, but I'm letting them know like every homeowner needs these three insurances. And I got that from Mindy Tibbs. I kind of stole that from her presentation. Because every now and then you'll get someone that says something along the lines of like, well, do I have to have this? And I always answer honestly. I say, well, technically the bank doesn't require you to have it. They don't care. But you'd be in the minority if you don't have
I
it.
love
So I just kind of let them know it'd be weird if you don't have it. But I mean, that's your decision, right?
it.
So I'm kind of explaining all that. And then I let them know, like, hey, look, I mean, you may not even be healthy enough to get this. So I got to ask you some health questions. And then I also got to ask some financial questions. And I'm letting them know the reason why I'm going to dig in here is because I'm on your side. I'm trying to find something that makes financial sense. We're not trying to make you, cash poor here. And then the trial close is really, hey, if I can find something that A, you're going to qualify for, and B, that actually makes financial sense and fits in the budget, I'm going to help you submit a request for coverage and see if we can get you approved. Does that sound fair? And I'm going to ask them right there, and almost all of them say yes. And then I ask them if they have any questions. And if they don't, now I'm starting in the financial inventory.
That's amazing. That is now, but these are appointments, right?
Yes, yeah, these are all booked appointments, so they knew that I was calling.
Got it. Now, what has your show ratio been on those?
Yep, I would say a little bit better than 50%.
Okay.
So again, like in home, I was still getting a better show rate. I'd say if I set 10 appointments, I can count on about 6 of them to answer the phone and show.
Wow. Okay. I love it. So you have an algorithm. I mean, you have you know what, your numbers are, which allows you to then scale to what you need to do. How many appointments are you averaging a week?
So right now I'm doing about 30. But it's kind of funny. I was talking to one of my agents that's just blowing up right now, Antonio Valencia. This dude is doing like 60. And so and I was just on the phone with him last night and he was telling me about that. He's like, boy, those are part-time numbers when you're virtual. But that's kind of the goal. So right now, I'd say, 30 is obviously the standard, but if you're virtual, I mean, Antonio's 100% right. Like you got to squeeze more in there because you have to account for those 4 no-shows out of the 10, right? Because the idea is you don't want necessarily 30 appointments a week. Ideally, you want 30 sits. So whatever's going to get you 30 sits in a week minimum, that's what you got to do. So if that takes you 60, 50 set appointments, it kind of is what it is.
Now, how many days a week are you on the phones?
4. So just the standard Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
Is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Love it. Dude, that's fantastic. I mean, now, are you building your agency this way? Are most of the people in your agency doing telesales on appointment base?
So what's interesting is all of my top producers are doing it this way. Like we still have some in-home agents, but the agents really right now, they're up and coming. They're all doing telesales and they're all trying to get the appointments booked first is how they're doing it.
So now let's talk about the scale of your group. Let's talk about the fact that you guys are looking to go to 500 families a month, 1,000 families a month. What are some processes you have in place, scaling a telesales agency?
Yeah. So I think what's big is obviously I'm trying to do a lot of cold market and warm market recruiting, but what I've noticed is warm market is just lights out there, warm market. I think out of my agency, I think every single one of my consistent producers is warm market with the exception of one. And he was a warm market of a cold market, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
So my main goal is for the office is because let's just be honest, it's hard for me to try to talk to, acquaintances that I know out here and be like, hey, come join what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, great. Where's your office? I'm like, okay, well, I work out of my kitchen, right? That makes no sense. So now that I'm going to have an office, I mean, the whole goal is, let's get a bunch of agents of people that I know. I'm going to show them what I'm doing, come by the office, and we're going to get you trained up to get good virtually on the phone. Because I think in the past, like, think about this for a second. When I first started a year ago, I may have been hesitant to hire a bunch of agents locally because like my thought process is like, hey, we're going to run out of leads. New Hampshire's a small state, right?
Mm.
But now that's not an issue because if we're doing it all virtually, it doesn't matter. Like, hey, you want Alaska? No one's got Alaska. Let's get your license over there, right?
Right.
No one's down in Kentucky. Let's grab your Kentucky license.
Right.
So that's kind of the goal for the office. And I think what I also think is going to help is one of the things I've been struggling with is just trying, being shoulder to shoulder. It's harder to be shoulder to shoulder with people sometimes when they're states away, right? Or they got to be on a Zoom, which again, Zoom is great, it's good, but I think there's some type of power about being in a physical location where you can really develop a culture.
Right.
So that's kind of the goal of what I'm going to try to achieve. Kind of same thing that Gabe has out in Chicago, right? Or same thing that Joe has in New Jersey. Like
Right.
that's the type of culture that I want in the Northeast up here, so we can continue to move forward.
I love it, dude. I love it. You're making me thinking about taking a trip to New Hampshire, which is, I don't think I've ever thought about doing that, but
Hey,
so.
we'll have you down. It's nice this time of year, so.
What is the snow? What are those winters like? I mean, I went to school in Rhode Island, but I wasn't that far up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I joke around all the time. Like we probably have 3 good months here. So like June, July, August, it's nice and hot. And then like on the other side, like May is okay. September, October, it's beautiful, a little bit chilly, but the rest of the year it's freezing cold. But I tell one of my boys all the time, like, hey, it builds character, man. When you got to scrape snow off the car, it builds character, and you need character here. So yeah.
It sure does. What are your goals? You're on a Hall of Fame track for 2022?
Yep, I'm right there. So it's at the point where it's like, okay, if I don't hit, I'm going to be kicking myself because I only need. Last I checked at the IP report, I need 73 families to hit it. And that again, I should no problem be able to do that. If
No
not, then
doubt.
I got to have a self talk with myself or something. But yeah, so personally, I got to hit Hall of Fame. That's been a goal from the start of the year, and honestly, if I can do it, then I feel like I can show other people how to get there as well. It's hard to follow someone that isn't doing or can't do what you're telling them they need to, right? So
Right.
I think that's where it starts. Yeah, and then my big goal was before the close of the year, I wanted to make sure that I opened an office, and that is now done. I spoke that into existence.
Yes, sir.
So really, the next goal is, next goal is I want board member by the end of 2023. So that gives me kind of a head start, a couple months now, and then all of next year. The whole goal is if I can get enough agents to help enough families to where we're a board member, I think we're going to help a lot of people along the way. So
That's fantastic. Give an annual convention shout out, a plug, because that is by far our Super Bowl event, and the lineup is staggering, with Alex Rodriguez and Jocko Willink and now Damon John, to name a few. But what's a plug for you for annual convention, and what's the value been for you, and what do you think it could be for your agents?
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like convention last year was insane. I can't describe it. It's different. Obviously, we have tons of training that's free on YouTube, right? We have like these mini conferences like summer, fall, they pop up. You always try to be a part of them. But convention, that's like a different level. And it being there, it's almost like, I guess the biggest way to describe it, like imagine watching a game on TV. Like, right, I'm a big football fan. Imagine watching a game on TV versus being there in person.
Mm.
So the difference is like the atmosphere. It's like you can't replicate that. And also too, like if you're at a football stadium and everybody is rooting for the same team, there's just something about that. And that's what convention was last year for me. To go there and see a bunch of people that were like me, that were like killing it. I'm like, okay, well, if they could do it, I could do it. But just the whole atmosphere in that 4 day span like you just can't replicate that over a Zoom, over a YouTube, or even at a mini conference. And then I think my favorite part about it is like it sounds like it just be like a rah, right? But like the practicality I took away from a lot of the speakers there and the training, I mean, I still use a lot of that stuff today. I mean, the notes I took, and it's insane. And I always tell people, like, look, had I not gone to convention last year, I would have felt like, it's kind of like when everyone knows the same story or the same joke, and they all know the punchline, and you're kind of left out of it. Literally, if you're an agent, you don't go to convention, that's going to be you. Like everybody's going to be talking about this and that and different things they learned and the experiences they had, and you're going to be the one agent that's like, I want to laugh with you, I want to know the joke, I just don't understand. And I think that's again, that's a lonely feeling. That's a hard way to run the business, for sure.
No doubt.
And it's free too. Like, how can you beat that? It's free. I can't get over that.
No,
like,
yeah.
I still don't understand. Like, why would Sean Mike put that on for free? That dude's a madman, but I love it. It's just like, it's literally free. It's only there to help. You just got to get down there. I mean, it's just a no-brainer.
Dude, I remember when it was free and there were no guest speakers. Now it's free and you're bringing in world-renowned guest speakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane to me. Like, A-Rod, and it's free. That's nuts. Yeah, that's great.
So, dude, do me a favor. If you had an agent or a bunch of agents that were looking to take the plunge that you took, which is selling at a high level and starting to build an agency at a high level, what would be a piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say always look. So as you're growing, always try to be uncomfortable and not complacent. And I'll give Mike Irvling a shout out. That's kind of one thing he always talks to me about. So think about that, right? When I was brand new in the business and I was just getting in, right? Well, it was uncomfortable to quit my job. It was uncomfortable to buy leads, right? And then I just kind of bit the bullet and I started to do it. And then it started working out. And then once I got comfortable being on my own and actually buying leads every week, then Mike's like, hey, it's time for you to get a recruiter. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm finally just starting to keep some money. Hey, man, get a recruiter. You want to build an agency. That's what you told me. You're not going to regret it. So I'm like, okay, well, now I guess I got to pay for a staff. That's uncomfortable, right? So then I do that for a while and I'm a little bit uncomfortable. And then I get complacent there because I'm like, hey, I'm getting better. I'm making some money. Recruiter bills paid. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Now, Travis, it's time to open an office. Well, wait, so every step of the way in the business, as you start to feel like you're getting complacent, that's where growth dies. So when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. And what's interesting is every time, like when I quit my W-2, then I had to make it happen. When I hired my first staff, I had to make it happen. When I open up a physical office, right, where people to come in, that takes some money. The landlord wasn't like, hey, you're a nice guy. He expected the deposit today, right? So it's things like that, though. It's like, the more uncomfortable I always find myself, it's just temporary because then all of a sudden I grow beyond it.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So that's my big takeaway is, in this business, if you're looking to really make a difference for your family, make a difference for other families that you're serving, and then the agents that are trying to follow you, again, just get out of your comfort zone and keep growing. Make sure that, you're not going to stay complacent.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, man, you killed it. Training day with my man, Travis Vincent. I appreciate you, bro. All the stuff you're doing, your learning curve, the way you smashed it, the way you teach it. It's really helping a lot of people. So thank you so much for sharing, brother.
Yeah, always an honor to be on. I really appreciate it, Mark.
All right, man. God bless. We'll get you back on here soon. Keep listening to us. We keep trying to help you. God bless. Take care.